Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is that you are, wherever you may be. Thank you very much for making this a part of your day. I am Brad Franklin, creative content writer here in Chesterfield, and I'm very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again. We got something a little bit different for you today, something that I'm really excited to bring to the show. I want to welcome Sierra Seekford from the Cooperative Extension. We're going to talk to you about gardening today, which is admittedly a topic I know so little about that it's actually kind of funny. Sierra, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Well, we'll try and change that gardening knowledge today.
If at the end of this podcast I have any idea what I'm doing, then you've achieved something very substantial. Obviously, this is the time of year when folks are trying to get out more, right? They're trying to, not just because of the pandemic and everything opening up again and all that fun stuff, but just because of the time of year. I guess if you can fight the pollen and you can get outside and get some stuff in the dirt. Obviously, this is the time when people are looking to plant some stuff, and so I wanted to have you come on and talk a little bit about sort of not just what to plant when and all that fun stuff. We'll get to that, but also what master gardeners are, what they do, and that kind of thing. Before we get started, though, talk to me a little bit about your background, like how what it is that you do and how you got involved in it.
Right. So I'm an agriculture and natural resources extension agent.
Okay.
And that's part of Virginia Cooperative Extension, which is an extension of our land grant universities, so
right.
Virginia Tech and
Right.
Virginia State University. And so I work as an educator out in the community to bring those resources to Chesterfield.
Right.
So we work in research-based knowledge. So
Okay.
we try to be that source that people can come to and really get honest research-based knowledge.
Now, is this something that you how did you get into? Did you grow up, wanting to plant stuff? Was that something that sort of happened for you early? Like, how did you get into it?
So I often go back to my dad was the coordinator for the poultry division at our local fair, and we pretty much lived there the entire week of the fair. And I was there handing little baby chicks and telling people all about how you raise chicks and take care of them. And so that was really where it started for me, and that connection with people. People don't always know where their food comes from.
Right.
And so learning about chickens was a big thing to them, and being able to make that impact on people and really show them where their food comes and link that. Cool.
And then horticulture, is that something that came on once you got to college, or how did you sort of get involved with that aspect of things?
Yeah, so I've always been somebody that loves going out in the garden.
Right. So basically the opposite of me, is that what you're saying? Yeah, I got you. I got you.
So my grandmother was big into canning and food preservation, and that followed it to my mom, and then now me too. I like making pickles and everything. So cool. I was big into our gardens, and then we had a family farm that I would go out to every weekend.
Awesome. So you get into this line of work. Obviously, a lot of interest as you've grown up and stuff. And I'm guessing in the course of your background with education and stuff, and certainly doing a lot more educating in the community, you've learned a lot over the years. I want to talk to you about master gardeners specifically. It's funny. I think master gardener is a thing that people hear, but I don't know if people necessarily know. And I say that as someone who didn't necessarily know until I started doing some research for this show. What is a master gardener, and how does one become a master gardener? Like, what do master gardeners do?
Yeah, so I'm only one person, and I can't really get out into community that well for such a large community as Chesterfield. And so master gardeners, they're really our boots on the ground, and they're able to be out there and doing different activities such as clinics. There's a speakers bureau with master gardeners, so they can come out and talk. But they're really, at their heart, they're educators. They're lifelong learners, and they want to help other people really learn about gardening and understand what that is. So
in terms of the things that master gardeners do they normally, would they go to someone's, a group of people who want to come and learn about a specific thing? Do they go to different sites? What kind of activities do master gardeners take part in?
Yeah, so we have a few. We have demonstration gardens. So we've got one here at our extension office, and we're in the same building as the Central Library. So right outside of the Central Library is our demonstration garden. And we're actually inviting people to come to that demonstration garden the first Saturdays, May through October. And we're going to have different themed events to where they can come and learn a little bit more. The first one's in May 7th about container gardening. So cool. If a lot of people have picked up container gardening, and it's especially good for small spaces. If you've just got a balcony in your apartment, then container gardening is really helpful. Cool.
Now, in terms of the things that the master gardeners do, my understanding is that they also will do soil samples and teach people how to do samples, because obviously it makes sense, right, that if you want to plant certain things in certain places, it might be a good idea to know if that thing should be planted in that place. But in terms of the soil piece of it, why is that important for folks who want to plant things?
Yeah, and you kind of hit it on the head already. We always say right plant in the right place.
Right.
And so getting that soil test help you determine exactly what you have there, and if certain plants need certain nutrients or certain chemistry in your soil. So you want to test that out and see if you have what's right for that. We have a few programs where they'll come out and do site visits.
Okay.
So one of those, and it's been around for over 20 years now, is Grassroots, and that's our lawn care and nutrient management program.
Okay.
So master gardeners, they'll come out to your home. They will check out the condition of your lawn. They'll take a soil sample for you. And they'll also take compaction tests and other things on site as well.
Cool.
But then they bring that information back to myself and my other coworkers, and then we write a specific personalized plan for that person.
Right.
So then they know exactly what kind of fertilizer to put down, if they need lime, any of those type of nutrients.
Yeah, because like the pH and everything of the soil. As somebody, you get into the lawn piece and like, okay, well that I got a little bit of knowledge about. Talk to me more about the programs you guys do. Obviously, there's a lot going on. You mentioned the first Saturdays in the garden, but I'm just curious what other programs, and if you want to talk about the different themes and things through the various Saturdays, feel free. But I'm just curious what kind of things you guys are offering.
Yeah, so along with the first Saturdays, on June 4th, we'll have one about composting and vermiculture, which is using worms to compost.
Okay, I was going to ask, I saw vermiculture, and I was like, I have no idea what that is. Using worms, huh? That's fun. Do you guys supply do people have to bring their own worms?
This is more of kind of a show and tell.
Okay, I got you.
So we have some worms at the office.
Gotcha. So then they got to go find the worms to put, got it. Okay, cool. That's fun.
And then we have multiple ways of composting over at the garden as well, being demonstrated. July 9th is plan your fall garden. I know that seems kind of early, but that's when you start thinking about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly how you want to set things up, maybe starting some seeds for the fall too.
Right.
August 9th is garden pests. So that's always some challenges you face, especially first-time gardeners. There's a lot of people that have gotten into gardening, especially the food insecurity and then having the extra time at home. Right. A lot of people are growing their own things.
In terms of what we see here locally, what are the most common sorts of pests that folks need to be sort of on the lookout for in their gardens?
Yeah. So it kind of depends on what you're growing.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, a lot of things in ornamentals we see. I know a lot of people around here love their boxwoods, and unfortunately boxwoods are having a hard time right now.
Right.
So if you have any questions about any insects or diseases you might think would be on your plants, you can always bring a sample into us. We have a free plant lab, so you can bring in your insect, your plants. We can help identify things. So that's a free service we also offer to the public. Cool.
All right. So then after that, you've got the on September 3rd, building soils. Talk to me a little bit about that one.
Yeah. So I'm kind of a soil nerd myself.
Okay.
I really so that's really an important thing. A lot of people use raised beds, and so building your raised bed properly is very important in what you include into it, as well as gardening in the ground.
Okay.
So like we've talked about, getting that pH right, getting those nutrients right,
and
then making sure that you're only applying the fertilizers that you need, so you're not getting excess nutrients into the water systems, which there's a lot of those around.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, people just go to Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever, buy a bunch of stuff that they don't necessarily need, and obviously you guys can help them know what exactly that is that they need. And then I guess the last one in October, cover your crops in winterization. So you mentioned the joke about it seems early for to plant your fall, but even October you're already looking for down the road. I'm guessing that's a big one for folks, because it's not only is it like the end of the the summer, so to speak, the end of moving into the bulk of fall and winter, but there's a lot of winter for especially folks in this part of the country. You want to keep your plants, you want to give them what they need, I guess, to basically hang around during winter so you can make it to next spring and beyond. Talk to me a little about what kind of winterization stuff you guys offer.
So as far as that, we also think we don't want to leave bare soil exposed, because that'll contribute to erosion. So part of that cover crop is getting something growing over top of that soil, and then that's incorporated back in. So those nutrients are being returned to the soil for you to use next year.
Right.
And then different winterization. Some people still keep growing things throughout the winter.
Okay.
So making sure you have the proper tools, cover cloths and things to keep you going throughout the winter.
Right. Now, in terms, I mean, obviously we touched on winterization, but I want to circle all the way back to present day, right, where spring is springing, as anybody with pollen allergies like myself understands. But obviously summer will be here soon, and I know there are a lot of people out there who are probably curious as to when they should plant what, right? Like, what's my window? And I'm, as I mentioned before with lawns, I think there are a lot of people who will try to plant in spring when they should probably plant in fall. But I'm just curious, generally speaking, what kind of time frames should people be on in terms of what they plant, as they go into spring?
Yeah, so right now is a good time to plant a lot of things.
Okay.
Especially if you want to do annuals, blooming plants in your landscape, now is a good time to get some of those. We are almost at the border of when the average last frost dates, so
right.
It kind of depends on what if you're gardening for food, cool season crops are still good right now. A lot of people like to wait to plant their tomatoes until after Mother's Day. That's kind of the safe thing because sometimes we can get late frost. But in Chesterfield, our last frost is usually around April 25th. But we can always get some of those last ones.
Yeah, random ones.
And we've had a lot of people antsy to plant their tomatoes already, and that hasn't gone so well.
Right.
So some of those summer crops, it is better to wait until after Mother's Day. So, those tomatoes, your okra, squashes, zucchini, that type of thing. You can also plant perennials, hardwoods right now, although those are really best done in the fall. Like you said with turf, establishing grass is done best in the fall, because then those seedlings won't get the stress of the heat of the summer. Gotcha. So the fall is the best time because then they can establish roots more, go through the winter, and then really be able to grow in the spring. Cool.
And you talked earlier about, one of the things about master gardeners is being able to sort of go out in the community, and because there's only one of you, right? But I'm just curious in terms of, let's say there are people who are watching this who, all of the things we've talked about are all sort of like things that they're sort of already familiar with, and they actually kind of like the idea of being able to be one of those, boots on the ground, so to speak. How does one be, what's the process to become a master gardener and to take part in that education in the community?
Yeah, so every year we open up applications in the fall, so usually September into October. We only accept about 20 to 25 new applicants every year. So we go through that in an interview process. And then those that are accepted into the program, they go through a class in the spring. So we just got out of that. It's a kind of intensive class because they're just learning all the basics over again and then also becoming familiar with what they specifically need to know from us and to better help and address the needs of people in Chesterfield. Cool. So they go through that class and then they do a certain amount of volunteer hours throughout the year, and then they graduate and become master gardeners. Cool.
Now, for those of you who are watching the podcast, you saw a graphic that already had contact information. If you're listening, I just want to give you a chance to give folks, if they have questions or want to reach out to you guys directly, what's the best way for folks to contact you?
Yeah, so you can call us at 804-751-4401, or you can email us at vce@chesterfield.gov.
Awesome. Well, Sierra, thank you very much for coming on the podcast, talking to us about all things gardeners and master gardeners and soil and all kinds of fun stuff. Very much appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Now, you want to make sure you check us out on social media. On Twitter, it's at Chesterfield VA, and on Instagram, it's Chesterfield Virginia, all one word. On Facebook, you can check out our podcast page, just Chesterfield Behind the Mic. Make sure you like that page to keep up with us as we go forward. Now, let me tell you about the ways you can check us out. You can watch us on our YouTube channel as well as on our website, chesterfield.gov/podcast. An audio-only version of the show is available there as well as on all of the different platforms, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your shows. You can also watch the podcast on WCCT Thursday through Sunday at 7, on the weekends at noon. That's Comcast Channel 98 and Verizon Channel 28. Lastly, you can check out chesterfield.gov/connect with us for more ways to get in touch with us, as well as, get more information out to you. My thanks to Martin Stith, my director, my executive producer, Susan Pollard, and all the good folks here in communications and media for making this possible. And my thanks to you for joining us today. So, for all of us here in Chesterfield, thank you very much for making us a part of your day. We'll see you again soon. Take good care.